Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Live Magic Q&A Tea Party with me, your host, Madame Pamita. We meet here every Sunday, except for the first Sunday of the month, and it's a live Zoom session. So if you're seeing this on YouTube, you could join us live and ask your questions. All you have to do is go to spellsquad.com, sign up, and you'll get a link to join us here. And we meet here every Sunday, as I said, except for the first one. We meet here at 5 o'clock Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's an hour of talk and interesting facts and information. And we get to, you guys are the stars of the show because we answer your questions about magic, law of attraction, spiritualism, whatever you got, divination, we will answer it. So if you don't know who I am, I'm Madame Pamita. If you just stumble on this somewhere and you don't know who I am, I'm Madame Pamita, and you can find me online at parlorofwonders.com. It's my website. You can also find me on YouTube under Madame Pamita, Instagram under Madame Pamita as well. And I want to give just a couple little plugs before I get to our fabulous guest today. I've got a couple workshops coming up. On April 4th, I've got Magical Natural Incense Spells. That's going to be one of our first Sundays workshop, the first Sunday in April. Going to be teaching Magical Natural Incense Spells. I'm going to be teaching how to create your own natural incense, no fragrance, all natural botanical ingredients, both in working on charcoal and making cones. I'm going to teach that on the 4th. May 2nd, for the first Sunday workshop, I'm going to be teaching how to access your past lives, several different ways that you can access your past lives so you can understand your own past lives or help your friends and family understand their own past lives. So it's something you can do for yourself and you can do for other people. So those are the two next first Sunday's workshops. I also have some other workshops that are going to be coming up through Catland Books. And those oh, by the way, for the first Sunday's workshop, go to witchcraftworkshops.com and you can sign up for those. Now there's also some workshops that I'm doing through Catland Books. And to book those, you go to catlandbooks.com. That's the next one coming up, actually, which is March 31st. I'm teaching the old magic of Ukrainian eggs. So I'm half Ukrainian. So this is all my people, my history, my people. I'm diaspora Ukrainian. And so I'm going to be teaching about that. And that's what I was working on all day today, was putting together that beautiful curriculum. And it's going to be amazing. You're going to learn spells with eggs, how to decorate eggs, all kinds of things. It's going to be amazing. Also on April 28th, I'm going to be teaching Tea Leaf Reading 101. That's also through Catland Books. And May 26th, Meet the Old Slavic Spirits. And that's going to be through Catland Books. So you get those tickets over at catlandbooks.com. The other ones, you go to my site, witchcraftworkshops.com. Now, without further ado, I get to introduce an amazing, amazing spiritual worker who I adore, Ambrozine LeGare. Now I'm going to say it wrong. LeGare, sorry.
LeGare, it's okay.
Also known as Aoife Lomo. She's a spiritual consultant, a Reiki master, a bone reader, amazing bone reader, a spiritual consultant. She provides spiritual services to clients across the globe, including traveling to people, which we're going to talk about. Her approach to spiritual work can totally be summed up in 2 words: healing and love. So if a client comes to her where they're looking for a relationship issue, they have a relationship issue or job issue, they have some kind of problem that they need a solution to, she starts and ends her work in the spirit of healing and love. And she really, really, really does. I mean, that's just not a good, catchphrase. That is truly the truth. She works with clients from all faiths, all backgrounds and traditions, and she sought out her services as a medium, and she specializes in, and I think she is number one in this world for connecting and doing ancestor work, ancestral connections. She does root work, she does spiritual services, and she does private spiritual coaching, spiritual education, all of that stuff. So welcome with that big, long introduction. Welcome, Ambrozine.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been so long since we've actually laid eyes on each other. So this is a treat for me.
I know. And especially in this time when we don't get to see, we don't have our gatherings or anything going on.
I know.
It's so nice to be able to see a old friend and familiar face, it's just great to see you.
I know. Well, we thank the Zoom gods and the free conference call gods and all of the conferencing gods for connectivity, because in addition to, the COVID-15, I feel like I'm back in college picking up weight. not, being out as often as I usually am. It's just great to be able to connect and have those connections. But thank you, and thank you again. And thank you to your guests. We've got Ohio, California, the Bay Area. I like the Bay Area. I love the Bay Area. I saw Canada somewhere, Florida. New York is in the house. Everybody knows I'm going to say it with my Brooklyn accent. New York is in the house. So
Yeah.
I'm just so psyched to be here.
It's so great to have you. Well, I'm going to tell them a little bit about you. First of all, I'm going to tell them a little bit about you and how amazing you are in doing ancestral work. I mean, I think that you do so many different things. I mean, really are very, very skilled at everything that you do, but your ancestral work is just like off the charts to me. It's like the
Thank you.
best of the best. And if I ever have clients who have situations where they have ancestral curses or ancestral work that they're needing to work through, I always send, oh, I know someone, I know the perfect person for you, and I send them your way. So
Thank you.
it's just something that I think you specialize in and do so beautifully, but you do so many other things as well. So you just said to me today that you have just got back to New York, and you've been traveling around the country. What are you doing?
I've been traveling different places. I don't advertise. Once upon a time I did, but as my work has grown and I've grown as a person and as a spiritual worker, the focus has shifted. We met first initially out in Forestville, root work, and we did all of that. But the focus of my work has really changed from just doing root work and teaching to healing and making family connections. Because over the years, as I was doing reading after reading, right, I would find common themes, ancestral curses or ancestral patterns. And as I grew as an individual and grew in my spiritual practice, the spirits that walk with me and that I serve, demanded that I start putting more focus on healing ancestral curses and generational habits and patterns. So
Mm,
my work has taken me there. So a lot of the traveling that I do, or a lot of the people that come to me or call me, we are dealing specifically with deficits in family connections, and we're dealing with any type of ancestral binds that are negative, and teaching people about how to really have a good connection with their ancestors, how to have a good connection with your own family. One of the things that I teach a lot is, okay, great. You want to connect with your ancestors, you want to know where you're from, but you haven't called your grandmother in 2 years. People, we miss a lot in this modern age what true magic is, what true spirituality is. And a lot of times, and I did it myself growing up, getting into, occult and pagan worlds, as they like to deem it. We want the spell, we want this, and we don't realize that real spiritual strength comes from a solid foundation. And that solid foundation comes from within and our immediate family connections. So my work has really grown and shifted to focusing on ancestral problems.
mm.
9 times out of 10, it's an ancestral connection combined with personal stuff that a person hasn't worked on or they don't want to look at.
Mm, It's so good because, I mean, even now, science is catching up with spirituality in a lot of ways. And there was an article that I read not long ago about how if there's trauma, that that trauma will go down 7 generations.
Absolutely.
And so the DNA changes. And so let's say, for example, I can think about my ancestors, starvation, right? There was starvation. So that trauma of starvation will carry on to me, even though I have plenty of food.
Right.
There's 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 issues around food because of that DNA thing that has
That
happened.
generational
Yeah,
trauma.
yeah.
And that is so key. The first person I ever heard talk about that, I must have been, I think late teens, early 20s was my mother. And she told me way back then, anything that happens more than 3 generations becomes hardwired into your DNA, into your ancestral memory, and into your psychic DNA. And you start to repeat a pattern. So issues with food. I have all the food in the world, but I'm constantly shopping and buying. I have that same thing too, because that's an ancestral thing,
Mhm.
always making sure you have enough. You see this with women, women who are in relationships with married men, and they're constantly in relationships with men or women who are committed to someone else. When we start analyzing ancestrally, we'll find that their mother did it, their grandmother did it, their great
Mm,
grandmother, and
mm,
you start to see this pattern that's passed down from generation to generation. So when someone comes forward and says, "Hey, I have this problem, blah 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 blah. I want Johnny back,"
mhm.
and I do a divination on it, and I go, "Well, Johnny looks like he's married. Yes, Johnny's my soulmate." And I say, "Well, no, no, no. Well, why don't we consider getting you someone new? And while we're doing that, what's your mother's backstory? What's your grandmother's backstory?" Because we have to see the core issue. Part of being, I think, a great spiritual worker, a great elder, a great reader, a great medium is being able to identify core issues. I can read 1,000 people and I can give you the answers because spirit gives them to me. I have that good fortune. But if I don't address the core issue, have I really helped you? Because guess what? You're either going to come back to me a few months from now for another reading, or you're going to go to somebody else. And that same problem is going to exist. And if you have children, guess what you're going to do? You will
Mm,
potentially, more than likely, pass that down.
mhm.
So ancestral work is more than just setting up a table with pictures, water, and candles. It's inner work. That's the real spiritual science.
Yeah. Do you think too that I think of this is just my you tell me if I'm wrong. Is what I'm about to say. But I feel like yes, we do get the trauma from our ancestors, but we also get the resiliency too. We also get resources from our
Absolutely.
ancestors as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, especially in the social media age, we're quick to, as a whole, not everybody, we're quick to be quick and witty and even petty, and everything is a defensive response because we're always working, we're always swimming upstream.
Mhm, mhm.
Always. There's always an external challenge. But when we look at things, we say, okay, there's this ancestral pattern, but the resiliency is there, the strength, the determination. And sometimes people may say, well, what do you mean the strength and the resiliency? And I tell people like this: if I go back in your ancestry and I remove one person, you don't exist. The resiliency of every single person in your direct bloodline is proof that the resiliency is there because you're here.
Yeah.
We are the latest versions of our ancestors.
I often think about and I but maybe you do too, but I often think about we look at our hardships in our life or this or that or the other that we're going through. And then I realize I go, my grandparents, not even going back that far, my grandparents, that's not that far, would look at the life that I have as such an amazing blessing and be
Right.
so proud, So I think about that, each of us, even if we're going through our hardships in our life, we have, the fact that we have a roof over our head, we have food on our table. Our
Right.
grandparents sometimes didn't have that.
Right.
And
Exactly. It's perspective. A lot of things that we deem as, oh, it's terrible and it's hard for our, grandparents, even our parents. It's a wonderful thing. It's progress. So
mm,
perspective is 95% of the sale. It
yeah.
really is. It's the perspective. And we also, personal accountability is one of the biggest magic spells. I've learned that the hard way. One of the greatest magic spells is personal accountability. And,
Yeah.
and it may sound a little bit preachy, but again, most of my clients, I have a curse, somebody's cursing me, da 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 da. And when I sit and look at it, whether I, look at it through their ancestors, through a bone reading, or with my spirits through a bone reading, or I read through Ifa, and I look at it and I go, well, no, so and so may be mad at you. But the real issue is that you have amends to make. And then you have this other piece. And it's that work that we have to do, the internal work. That's what's missing off the internet.
Yeah.
That's what's
Yeah.
missing in a lot of books that, oh, hey, hold on, I just swiped something on this new laptop. I'm still learning how to work. There we go. That's what's missing. It doesn't say in a book, and I'm going to cuss because I cuss and I drink. Don't smoke, but I cuss and drink. They don't say in the book, well, did you take a good look at yourself? Does your shit stink or does it smell like roses? And that's one of the personal accountability. I say it again and again. Personal accountability is the most powerful magic spell.
Yeah. I think, what's come up for me just the last, I don't know, few weeks or so is that how limited there are limitations in this world. Limitations do exist for sure,
Right.
but not nearly as many limitations exist out there as the one we create for ourselves,
Yes.
So yeah, there are going to be limitations. If I want to be a child actor, my time for that has passed.
Done.
That is not going to happen in this life. Next lifetime, then maybe,
Maybe,
whatever.
right. If
I
I
want to
want
be,
to sing,
whatever I want to
right.
be. But that's one minor limitation. But think of all the possibilities and how unlimited our potential is, and that I think is something that the spirit knows, the deep spirit knows that we have unlimited potential and that we can
Yes.
create so much, and then we stop ourselves because of beliefs that we have, or we stop ourselves because we have some fear, or we stop
Yes.
ourselves in some way. And so yeah, that comes along with that accountability, thinking about how can
Does.
I change myself, or how can I change my situation? I have the power to make this better. So I think magic
Absolutely.
can help that sometimes, but sometimes if we're always looking out there, I agree. We're not looking at our own self and our
We're not
own.
looking, and I use myself as an example all the time. You've read some of my blogs when I
Yeah.
do blog. I use myself as the example. One of the biggest challenges that I had to overcome. Yes, I know root work. Yes, I know how to do this. Yes, I know how to do this. Yes, I'm educated, traveled, yada yada yada. But I created my own stumbling blocks, even with my own magical workings. Why? Because I was fearful. And that fear manifested as anger, procrastination. And when I got to the core issue of why I was fearful, I was afraid of being successful. I was afraid of what people would think because I left my family's religion and family's church to go into Orisha tradition, to go into Palo, to go into root work. And I was fearful. And once I overcame my own personal dogma, notice what I said, my own personal dogma, magic popped. If I wanted to do spell work, it popped. If I decided I wasn't going to do spell work, prayers, soon as they were done, boom, accepted, it rolled. So admitting to myself that, hey, I'm my biggest challenge, it's not necessarily a curse. It's not that I'm not gifted, it's that I have these core issues that I have not addressed. Is there a family connection? Well, let me go to my ancestors and say, well, hey, what's going on? And sometimes it may be as simple as, well, shit, you haven't cleaned the altar. You don't have 2 dinner parties. Yeah, I saw you bought some new wine and we didn't get a glass of nothing. Ain't nothing gonna move until we get our wine. So that's one of those things,
Yeah, you're
have
making me feel guilty about my ancestor altar. I better go check
listen,
it.
is that because you've seen me read publicly for a large crowd.
Yeah.
So you know how it works with me on some levels. I could be sitting in a diner in Timbuktu minding my business, and I'll get the and I'm like, oh man, I forgot to do something. And then you'll see me. So, like I showed you earlier, I have my travel juju bag. It's big enough to get through TSA. It's clear and it doesn't have anything in it that they'll, say, oh my gosh. So, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I got to go find a crossroads somewhere, a tree somewhere in Timbuktu, because I got to leave an orange or something so that I can have a good trip because I forgot to do whatever. It happens. That's the thing. We're human. They know that we've got a whole bunch of distractions. We're trying to make money. We're trying to take care of our family. Spirit gets it. But when you get it, take the steps to make it happen.
Yeah. 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 I love it. Well, you ready to get some questions? Are you ready to answer some
Absolutely.
questions? I
Let's
love it.
fire away.
Okay. I'm sure we're going to have some great ones because you're bringing up stuff that we really haven't had a chance to talk much about ancestor work.
Hey,
So, New York is in the house of some people from everywhere, people from everywhere. All
yeah.
right. So, Septa has a question.
Mhm.
Um, Septa wants to know, what do you recommend to remove an ancestral curse? That's a big, big question because it's probably pretty specific.
Okay.
But
Well,
what's a good spell to, and then what's a good spell to get your
get
dream
your dream
job
job.
too?
Okay, so we'll start with the easy one. What do you recommend to remove an ancestral curse? And he's like, that's easy. Yes, get a reading with a competent diviner. And by competent, I mean competent, not someone who just hung their shingles up a few weeks ago, a few months ago, someone who is a priest, priestess, or they within their tradition, right? It doesn't have to be an African traditional or diasporic traditional religion. It can be, they can be a head of a covenant. They must be competent. They must know their shit. They must know ancestral work. You get a reading with a competent ancestral diviner.
Yeah.
And that will identify, one, is it an ancestral curse? If it is, what is the remedy? Because removing curses is not a one size fits all job. I
It's
don't,
definitely. I mean,
it's
it
not.
can, it's everything under the sun. It can
It
be.
can be anything and everything from under the sun.
Yeah.
Your diviner must be, if the ancestral curse happened 3000 BC, they got to be able to see that far back. And if they can't see that far back, they have to be able to connect with an ancestor that can do it for you and tell them what it is. And once they know that, they have to be able to have the remedy for you or refer you to a specialist, because spiritualists, there are specialists within spiritual traditions that can remove the curse. Removing an ancestral curse should not be done by a layperson. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, I think this is a great example of like when not every, listen, we both know this. Not every root worker, every spiritual worker is good at everything. And if they
Right,
say they're good at everything, I
right,
question.
right,
So when someone comes to me, I don't do remove ancestral curses. I teach people how to remove their funk from wherever they're out and
right.
about today, or Susie's giving them the evil eye or something like that. I can help you with that. But if you've got something that deep and I see it in a reading, I'm like, okay, we're going to talk to Ambrozine. You go over here to get your
Right,
work done
and then
because
even for
you're
me,
the expert. Yeah.
right, and even for me, I don't say I'm an expert because there are some things ancestrally that I know that I'm not equipped to handle. So I will refer whomever comes to me, I'll go, "Ooh, okay," above my pay grade. I will refer them to my Alua, which is my spiritual godparent. And if she's not the right person, I will refer them to any number of people in my network that specialize in that and know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's very important. So removing an ancestral curse should not be done by a layperson. If there is an ancestral curse and there's some mitigating circumstance where you cannot hire a person to do it, and yes, you should pay for that because removing curses, doing heavy duty cleaning work wears the person out who's doing the work for you. And people sometimes say to me, "Oh my gosh, that's so expensive." Yes, it's expensive because when I finish taking care of your stuff, I got to come home, clean my stuff, clean myself, feed my shrines, take care of everybody, and then I'm probably going to sleep for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you need to pay for that. If you cannot afford to pay for that, and there is an ancestral curse, and hear me, everybody. When I say pay for it, I'm not talking $20,000, take out a loan. I'm talking pay whatever the price is that the person's asking, and it should be a fair price. It shouldn't be something exorbitant. Um, you get your ducks in a row until you can afford the person. But in the meantime, within your spiritual tradition for your ancestors, not what you want to do for your ancestors, because let's say the ancestral curse is coming through a Jesus lover, but you don't like Christ. I don't like the church. I don't like the Bible. Guess what? Tough shit. Get your Bible out and you start praying for divine help from the tradition from where the curse comes from. Prayer
That's
is one of the
amazing.
most powerful spiritual tools.
Amazing. I love it. Do you have a good spell to get your dream job? What's a great I think we were talking about, I know we were talking about
Yeah,
money spells, but
money spells. Well, the money spell that I have can be adapted for work. So why don't we do this to give everybody a chance to get a pen and paper? I'll wait about 5 minutes and then I'll download something that can be adapted for work and money.
okay, great. All
Okay,
right. So
so about
everybody
five minutes.
get your
Yeah.
pencil and paper. Um, so Lady Raven says, what's the best way to connect with ancestors in order to heal, especially those who have ties that have damaged the family as a whole?
Ooh, that's a big one. Thank you, Lady Raven, for that. So the
Oh,
first thing that I would say, yes,
additional
ma'am.
information, sorry. It also affects the current family ties, including my own children, hence the reason I ask. Okay,
Okay,
sorry.
understood. Any ancestral trauma is going to affect vertically and horizontally. Not only will it affect your future generations, it's going to affect your siblings, your cousins, aunts, uncles. So, being the spiritual being that you are, you volunteered for this, right? So, it may fall on your shoulders or maybe yourself and a few other family members to do the family healing work. So, if there is trauma and drama within your current family line, meaning yourself, siblings, parents, aunts, uncles, baby daddy, baby mama, what have you, identifying what the core issues are that cause the problem. The first thing that you should look at doing is addressing the drama and trauma in the present generation. You can't heal ancestrally if you're hurt and angry today, right? All of those issues are on the surface. There's bad feelings, there's bitterness, there's resentment, there's tears. You have to address that. Sometimes we have to admit as spiritual workers and as spiritual beings that we have to love people at a distance while we do our own healing work. So as you're doing that healing work, the other half of that is what is everybody's backstory? Because if you have a bad relationship with your mother, right? What was your mother's backstory that got her to the place in her childhood, teenage, and adult years before she had you and your siblings to make her that way? What was your father's backstory? Understanding people's backstory gives you keys to the ancestral trauma. Once you start peeling back those layers, and those layers may not be healed within your lifetime, but once you start the work, you're able to pass on the skills spiritually and physically, emotionally, and mentally to your future generations so that they can continue the work of healing. By starting this process, it draws you closer to the ancestors that are equipped to help you and not closer to the ancestors that are still mired in trauma.
It's so good. That's so good. I think about that, it's like in just my story about my dad, who was very, very, very tight with money, like
Mhm.
crazy tight with money. And what it did to me was make me, at 15 years old, I got a job, always worked, never relied on anyone else because I was never going to let a man control me with money because I saw
Right.
what my mom and dad did. Right. And then as I got older and my relationship with my dad changed, I started to see, I go, well, he grew up in poverty, in the
Right.
depression where things were really scary. And he
Right.
didn't have a sense of security. And so this was his reaction to that lack of security in his childhood. And so I was reacting to his reaction, you
Right,
know?
not and you didn't right, and then it wasn't until you were older that you realized the backstory. So, my grandmother, to me, she's the best grandmother in the world. Both of my grandmothers were. But one of my grandmothers, she never said, "You're beautiful, you're pretty." She never did that. And when my mother had her children, she never did that. And it wasn't a really touchy feely kind of thing. So when I had children, I'm like, I'm gonna tell my children they're beautiful every day. I'm gonna tell them I love them every day. And when I got older and I got the backstory, my family didn't really do that because they understood how hard the world would be for Black girls. And they wanted to make sure that we got by on our brains and not just our beauty. and that we had the strength, and somebody used the word resiliency earlier, the strength and the resiliency to go through whatever life would throw at young Black girls, young Black women who become Black mothers. So when I understood that, I was like, oh, that is what an awesome gift that is. Let me change how I approach my children with the love that I give them. Because yes, I want them. Oh, okay.
You are in demand. That's all there is.
I want my children to know that they're beautiful, to know that they love, but I also want them to be strong. And I would not have gotten that if I didn't understand the backstory of the women in my family.
So true.
Backstory is critical for ancestral work.
Oh my gosh. Yes, 100%. The more you know, and here's the thing I will say, if you people that have your parents, your grandparents are still around, mine are all gone. And I wish I could talk to my mom again, although I do see her in dream time. She comes and visits me in dreams. But I wish I could ask her questions again. I wish I had met my grandmother. I wish, I had these opportunities, ask them questions, make friends with them so that you can find out those stories and see if they'll share those stories. It's so important.
And for those of you that are watching and have joined us that have rocky relationships with your parents, if it is a toxic, unhealthy relationship, it's all right to love somebody at a distance. Don't put yourself in harm's way simply for the sake of, oh, I got to connect with my ancestors. Heal yourself, but don't allow that toxicity into your life. You can't heal if you're battling that. But when there is a way for you to find that inroad to heal relationships, because the mere fact that you're listening to two mediums and spiritual workers tells me that you know a little bit something about spiritual work, or you're at least curious. You're responsible for what you know and what you don't know. And because you're here, now you know. If there's a way to healthily heal your relationship with your parents and your grandparents, do it. I'm going to share a quick story. One of my clients, she had fallen out with her grandmother, right? And I told her, Spirit kept saying she's got to see her grandmother. She's got to see her grandmother. So I told her, you got to go see your grandmother. Spirit says you need to see your grandmother. There's a reason for it. They're not telling me why. She didn't want to do it. It's like my grandmother, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, she had to take a trip somewhere. And everything that could go wrong went wrong with this trip. A crazy mistake at the airport sent her back home. She calls me crying. And I'm like, okay, well, it can be fixed. Things happen. And then I ask her about her grandmother. And I said, well, things can be fixed. And she said, oh, and before I could ask, she says, it's my grandmother's birthday tomorrow. Maybe I should just at least say hi. So I said, well, did you go see your grandmother like I said? And she's like, no, I didn't. I said, that's why you couldn't get on the plane. Spirit gave you a message to go see your grandmother. So she decided that night to go see her grandmother. Long story short, she got her grandmother's backstory, her father's backstory, her mother's backstory, healed the relationship, miraculously got a flight so that she can go to where she needed to be for less than what she paid for her original flight. And when she got off the plane and was walking through the airport, God is my witness, she found $5,000 in cash.
Oh my God. I love that story.
And she calls me and I said, the sacrifice that you needed to make was to go see your grandmother. So this ties back to healing ancestral lines, healing the family work. Sometimes, and we have that saying, forgiveness isn't for the other person, it's for you. Yeah, whatever. Sometimes that's bullshit. Sometimes it is. It's like, forgiveness is for you so that you can sleep at night and you won't be all bittered and stressed out. But sometimes we have to do that work because it affects the vertical ancestors, right? Your future generations, and the horizontal, your children, your siblings. That's why we need to do the work. Powerful spiritual work right there.
Oh, I love it. Oh, we got another great question. I mean, we have so many good questions, so I want to get to as many as I can. Nerve asks the question, how can I be sure that it's my ancestors that are coming forth when I ask for their assistance?
Oh, One of the best ways is consistent meditation and praying in the sacred space that you create to specifically connect with your ancestors. So set aside a date and a time that you consistently go, bring water, whatever you want to bring, eat with them, drink with them consistently. If you do that for about 30 to 60 days, you'll start being able to tell the difference. Some
Yeah.
people it'll take longer. Some people it'll be instantaneous, but consistency with your prayer and meditation and sitting down with something as simple as a glass of water, a little wine, whatever, coffee, and just talking, being silent and still. Consistency is how you connect. And then you start telling the difference between, Joe who died in 3B as opposed to your grandmother who's coming to visit you.
Joe who died in 3B.
Because sometimes Joe is like, oh, candle, food, rum. I'm going to be
here.
grandma. I'm grandma. I love you, dear. Yes, it works that way. It does.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, I have every morning I sit down and every morning I try every morning. Sometimes I miss a morning, but I sit down with my ancestor. I have an ancestor altar right by the kitchen.
Mhm.
I sit down, I feed them, I feed me. We have a little chat in the morning. That's how I start my day. My day always does go better when I do it. When I don't do it, something's a
It's
little off. It feels a
it's
little
something.
off.
Yeah, and and you'll feel it. Once you start doing it consistently, you'll feel the difference. Like, and I'm going to whisper this. I need to hurry up and get back home because I got to go in front of my ancestor altar because they sitting there like this.
Yeah.
They waiting.
Looking at their watches, right?
Like you've been gone for about 2 weeks. Yeah.
All right. So someone asked the question, how can I be connected to someone? How can I be Victoria asked the question, how can I be connected to someone who passed away 10 years ago? Oh, I don't think years matter at all. Do they?
No, years don't matter at all. What matters is whether the spirit wants to connect. Just like we have to respect living people's time and space, you have to respect the spirit's time and space. Some people, when they transition and they go on to their next chapter, and you don't make connections with their spirit again, which is why you need a trained priest, medium, diviner who can actually tell the difference between who's talking and who's not. So if the person that you want to connect to who passed away 10 years ago, and I am sorry for your loss, if they want to connect, they will. And when you get a reading, or whether it's a mediumship reading with the right person, that spirit will be able to tell the medium details that they could not possibly know to confirm for you that is who it is. That's the best way to connect.
So good. Becky says, I believe in past lives and reincarnation. I haven't been able to reconcile this belief with ancestor work. Aren't my ancestors busy with their next lives?
Not necessarily. Some people will reincarnate and some people will not.
It's interesting. I found that too when I'm
Yeah.
doing with reading. Sometimes people will say, I want to talk to Uncle Joe. And I'm like, Uncle Joe's back. Spirit will tell me Uncle Joe's back.
Back. Yeah.
He's already back.
Right.
And
Different.
and sometimes I'll be able to get that message and say, oh, it's a little child that you already know that's in your life, or I'll be able to tell them
Right.
where he is,
Right,
but
because
yeah.
different traditions will have different rules about reincarnation and people coming back from the realm of the ancestors. My personal experience, some people don't come back at all. Some people come back right away, and some people come back after several generations. So it really depends on whether the person is destined to reincarnate. If they have more life lessons to learn, they will reincarnate at the time when they can pass back through from the realm of the answers. And some people have fulfilled their life's destiny and they may never reincarnate.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like it's this thing when I've done work around lives between lives. It's like you get to create your life. You
Yeah,
create your life. And so you don't, it's not like picking something off the shelf. You get to
right,
decide, I want to have this experience. I want to, have this experience in this culture, in this time, in this body, in this situation. And then you get to have that experience without judgment. And your
right.
experience is something that it's fascinating. You know, it's like,
It is.
how do I then work with that clay of that life? It's so, I
Right.
think that you create the lump of clay, and then in your actual life, you get to model that clay how you wish to model it.
Absolutely. It's, you know, one of my favorite quotes, believe it or not, is from a Harry Potter movie where Professor Dumbledore speaks to Harry Potter, like the last movie. And he says, you know, is it the last movie? It's one of them anyway. And he says to him, it's about your choices. You get to decide what this looks like. So in the Yoruba tradition, the belief on some lineages is that before you come to earth, before you incarnate into your body, you choose your head, you choose your destiny, and you play out what happens while you're here. Of course, free will, your choice will determine what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Oh
you'll
my
find
gosh.
that across a lot of traditions. You'll find it across a lot of spirituality that that belief is we choose our destiny before we come back.
Yeah. Yeah. We have that. I think it's like this thing that you get then to create in your moment to moment. You get, it's not like something that you have no free will. Like, I do believe in free will.
You know, me
You
too.
get to create in that moment. Now I'm faced with this challenge, or I'm faced with this opportunity. What am I going to do with it? Am I going to
Right.
take the opportunity? Am I going to overcome the challenge, or am I going to do something else, you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, interesting.
It is. It is.
Um, let's see. So Marcella has a question. Marcel says word,
Word.
but not as dorky as I just said, I'm sure. How can we tap into our ancestral essences that can help us move past trauma that occurred generations ago? I think you answered that one.
Yes,
It's
we, you
doing
know,
the
we
work.
answer that. That's the healing
Yeah.
work that needs to be done.
And then Helen asked the question, how do you know if there's ancestral curse? And I think you answered that. Go
Yes.
to
Get
get
a
a reading.
divination.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Now, Kay has a question. Can fixed candles such as High John, be
Mhm.
placed on ancestral altars?
Yes. You can place any type of candle on the ancestral altar, but you have to know why you're doing it. So if you're going to put a high John candle on a fixed candle such as high John on your ancestral altar, what are you trying to get your ancestors to move for you? Because typically we use high John to conquer, to move things out of the way. You need to know why you're giving your ancestors this candle. You need to ask them, will they help move the obstacle? So you should not arbitrarily put things on the altar. You need to know why. You need to present it. Yes, you need to present it because you just wouldn't show up at my house and be like, oh, okay, you know, here's a ham. And I'm going to be like, well, what am I going to do with this? Why did you bring a ham? I don't even eat pork, you know, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So you have your fixed candle. Why did you get the fixed candle? You're going to present it to your ancestors and you're going to ask them, please move this out the way for me, or please do X, Y, and Z for me. And when you do that, you need to give them a token of thank you. Most people they ask, and they don't bring a gift. So you bring a ham to my house and you want me to cook it and make all the side dishes, but shit, you ain't bringing no wine.
Yeah.
Make it, you know, make something, give something to your ancestors. But before we go on to the next question, I just downloaded
Yes.
something.
Oh, okay.
So for those of you that want to do money work or get your dream job, I want you to identify what it is that you need. So if it's for your dream job, get a piece of paper. Typically in root work, we use brown paper bag. I still use brown paper bag, but you can use writing paper. Identify exactly what you need. Hear me, not what you want, what you need. What do you need in your dream job? What dollar amount do you need? Why do you need this dream job, or why do you need this dollar amount? Identify it, write it on a piece of paper. Piece of paper shouldn't be too big, right? It needs to be about this size, write small. Write out exactly what it is you need, why you need it. As you're writing it, you need to be in a prayerful mindset. I need $3,000 because I need to pay my rent. Open my roads to receive $3,000 to pay my rent. I need a dream job at Condé Nast because I want to be a food writer. And you're going to write out what you need, why you need it. Take the paper and you're going to take tobacco right? Fresh tobacco, if you can get it. If not, get a cigarette or a cigar, put it in the paper, roll it towards you, right? If you're looking for your dream job, take your resume, make it the smallest font that you can on a piece of paper. And you're going to write on top of that small paper what you need from your dream job, why you need it. You're going to take some tobacco. You're going to fold it towards you, right? You can also add time as well. So we're using things that you can get easily in your neighborhood or in your kitchen. Roll the paper towards you, fold it small. You're going to get an orange. Make a slit in the orange. Don't cut the orange all the way through. Stick the resume paper in there or the brown piece of paper in there. If you're working for money, you're going to take whatever coins you can afford, stick it in the slit. The job work, take a dollar bill, put it in there because you want a good salary. Take that orange, pray over it, get some tea lights, put it around like the candle for 2 days, right? Once you're done, you're going to take that orange and you're going to plant it at a base of a tree, praying for good things to come, for that dream job to come. The orange is sweet. It's sweetness, it's the money, it's what you need. If you are somewhere where the ground is frozen, I want you to take the orange and I want you to discard it just at a base of a tree. Just leave it, walk away. And then have faith that your work will manifest. An orange piece of paper, a little tobacco should cost you no more than $1.50, $2.
I love that. The whole orange thing also as well is in Chinese practice is good luck. It's good luck and
Mm,
prosperity.
okay.
So
So,
that orange work is like, I love it. It's amazing.
and that's a
Sweet.
good thing to use for those of you, because so many of you are quick to get a damn lemon and put somebody's name in a lemon. If you're having trouble in your family, because we're talking a lot about ancestors here, and you're having trouble with a family member, lemons are the worst way to go. Vinegar jars are the worst way to go. Don't curse your mama, don't curse your sister. It's bad business. Put their name in an orange. Ask for the relationship to be sweet.
Yeah.
If
Honey, sugar, sweeten it
honey, right,
up.
put a little sugar and honey, make a slit, don't cut it. Put their name in it and pray that if the person is like very aggressive, I want them to be sweet. I want them to be calmer. I want them to be cooler. Right there, on a piece of paper, stick it in a slit in the orange, put some honey and sugar in and put that shit in your freezer. Tell them to calm down, be sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop running to lemons. Lemons ain't always what it is, what
Yeah.
you think it is.
I know, I know. I always think that's where I go the same way as you. And I think about family things and I'm having problems with a family member.
Mhm.
I go to let's sweeten this up.
Let's
I
sweeten
always
it.
go to let's
Right.
sweeten this up because it's not very sweet right now. And even if I'm so angry,
Yes.
and I have been so angry, I
Yeah.
have been.
I close that
but,
mouth. Yeah.
but but I want to sweeten it between us because no, but you don't want to live with that. And you don't, it doesn't mean you have to be best friends. Like
Right.
this
You can
family
love at a
member.
distance.
Exactly.
Love at
It's
a
love at a
distance.
distance, but things between us are really calm and really harmonious now. And
Right.
that is everything. That
Right. And
I don't
so,
want to create more problems.
right. And
Lemon's
see,
going to create more problems.
right. But here's the thing with like using lemons to curse family members, or you curse a family member, you're mad at them. You don't have to do a spell to curse a family member. It can be the power of your mouth, the evil eye. So let's say you're mad at your brother and you put him in a lemon, you throw him in the freezer, you throw the lemon in the river, and you just created an ancestral curse. 5 generations from now, that family line, your brother's family line may be having problems. Why? And they'll come to my generations. 5 generations from now, one of my great great greats does a reading and says, "Oh, you had an aunt back in 2021 that cursed your great 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 grandfather." This is why we do healing work. This is how ancestral curses get started, because somebody's mad and somebody went online, Googled something, did a lemon, a candle, and cursed their own mother or father or their sibling. And now you are responsible for creating a generational curse. It
Yeah.
happens that fast. This
Yeah.
is why I say use oranges. You can use apples. You can even use a banana. Sweeten a situation before you go to cursing.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. For sure. 100% for sure. Ugh, I love that money spell and that job spell though. That's beautiful. And I love, this is something I teach all the time too, is that you've got things readily available in your home, in your spice cabinet that you can use. You don't have to go to the fanciest, the most elaborate, the most exotic,
Right,
you've got stuff that's great. And you
right,
can use that stuff for right now.
right now.
You can make a potion. I tell people when I teach the potions class, I go look at your herbal teas. Go look
Yes.
at what you got. You
Oh, your
got
tea
herbal
classes
teas
are
there.
fabulous. Yes, yes, they are.
Go look at that herbal tea cupboard and you're going to see something that you can turn into a potion right now that you can serve to yourself, you can serve to your loved ones, you can create, if you want to do something to make money right now, go get
Right.
some chai. Chai's got all these things for
Chai
heating
is
up thing. It's got
yes,
spices for heating up love, for heating up money, all of that stuff. And you can make yourself a beautiful cup of chai and you can enjoy that, bless it, enjoy it, drink it in, and it comes in to all the cells of your body. Now you've got that
right,
permeating your body. And that's something you
absolutely.
you get at the grocery store or you got it in your cupboard already.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And I'll say this because you announced at the beginning of the show that you were doing a tea reading class.
yeah, that one's a tea leaf reading class. We don't talk about potions in that one. We talk about tea leaf reading, which is so much fun. That class is great,
Right.
great
Well,
fun.
I'm going to say this because I got to see Madame Palmita teach about using teas and tea leaf reading. It's fabulous. I learned so much. So I got to shout you out on that.
Oh,
So
thank you
please
so
take her class
much.
because it was actually very good and I enjoyed it so much. But anyway, back to the Q&A.
So we got a little more time. We got time for another question or two. So let's get to
Okay.
those before we wrap it up. Um, let's see. Oh, I was going to say about the candles, putting the John on the altar. You start to get to know what your ancestors want
Definitely.
and like. I
Right.
think the more you start to work with them, they sometimes aren't interested in things that I might go, and I'll just get a message, no, they don't want that. And then they're like, oh yeah, I want that. So you'll start to
Right.
kind of get in it for
You'll
me,
get a
because I'm
feel.
a feel. Exactly. You'll get a hunch as the best way I can describe it. But that hunch is really them speaking through you. So the more you develop that relationship, the more you'll know what they like, what they want.
Absolutely.
And you can't go wrong with a
Consistency.
plain candle if you just give them a plain candle. But they may ask for other things. They may ask for food. They may ask for mine like vodka and they like fruit on the altar. So I
Right.
offer that to them, and so there's different things that they want.
There's
So
different things. And if you get a really odd craving, so let's say we'll go back to the lemon, candied lemon peels. Let's say out of the blue, you want candied lemon peels. That might be an ancestor requesting that so that they can do something for you.
oh, I love that. I
Pay
love that.
attention to odd cravings. You suddenly want a cigarette, you don't smoke. You don't have to smoke. Buy a pack of cigarettes, put it on your ancestor altar. Somebody wanted it.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, I love that. All right. So Penelope has a question.
Okay.
This may be a simplistic summation, but are you saying that if women on both sides of my family had never had successful relationships or marriages, there's a very high chance that I will suffer the same?
Possibly, yeah. So if on your maternal and paternal lines, if I'm hearing this correctly, all of the women, aunts, mothers, cousins, all of the females have never had a successful relationship, I would recommend getting a divination so that both lines can be looked at, find the root cause. And when you find the root cause, you might need to do spiritual work around that so that you can have a successful relationship.
Yeah, yeah,
When you see a pattern like that, when you start to see family patterns, about 85% of the times there's something there.
yeah. That's a big
But it's,
pattern to see on both sides
right.
of the family,
It's not necessarily a generational curse, ancestral curse. It just might be something with that family line. Maybe somebody was supposed to, I'm making this up. One of the women was supposed to be a priestess and didn't do it. So until somebody becomes a priestess, nobody's going to get married. Nobody's going to have a successful relationship.
Mm, mm. Well, I have got a great question here for you.
Okay.
Um, so Penelope is, how about the positives from our ancestors? Are there a few things that you can share? This is a great way to end our thing
Mhm.
today. Are there a few things that you can share with us that are positives from our ancestors?
Oh, absolutely. So The positives from our ancestors, we started off by saying resiliency, strength. These are the things that we know because a lot of our ancestors weren't wealthy, a lot of them struggled, a lot of them were poor. That resiliency and strength, that's the positive. I learned this recently, kindness, right? Ancestors that were kind in their life will be kind to you in their death. Kindness defeats even some of the most strongest enemies. What do I mean by that?
Kill them with kindness.
Kill them with kindness. Certain skills, when you start learning about your family, you might find out that one of the women in your family was an entrepreneur, that an uncle, a great 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 grandfather was a musician, and you've always wanted to play a musical instrument. Tap into that. Tap into those skills, those unique talents, the strength and the resiliency. Depression, somebody had put something in the chat about depression. Can depression be generational? Yes. Under no circumstances do you deny yourself the help that you need. If you're depressed, if you think there's some type of drama or trauma or curse, seek out the proper type of counselor. Get the help you need so that you can do the emotional and mental work to be prepared to do the spiritual work. It all goes hand in hand. Prayer is your most powerful tool. I don't care what your religious belief is. When I create a candle work, when I create a bath, we say Omiro in my tradition, when I go in front of my shrines, my chanting, my singing, my orikis, they're prayers. There's that's living power coming out of my mouth. You all have that too. Prayer and meditation are your most powerful allies. People think meditation that you got to be all, meditation just means sit your ass down, be quiet and chill for a little while so spirit can speak to you and you can reset and clear your mind. The other most powerful tool that you have is this: water. Things get too hot, put a glass of cool water down on the floor by your door, by your bed, by your window. Keep your ancestor altars clean, people, right? A dirty ancestor altar is like having, you know, a wad of cash this big, all hundreds, and then you rub shit on it and you put it on a garbage can lid filled with maggots and you present it to somebody. It's like, oh, lots of money, but oh, it's dirty. Clean your altar. You want good things, not stagnant things. If your ancestor altar is stagnant, you're going to have stagnant energy.
It's great advice. Great advice. Oh my gosh. This was so amazing to spend time with you. Oh, I love you so much. So great to spend time with you. I'm going to, so AmbrozineLeGare.com is where they find you, right?
They can find me there, or they can, I'm going to admit this. I am bad with keeping up with social media. I am busy. I really am. I'm not making that up. If you email me, I promise I will eventually get back to you. If it's an emergency, I will prioritize because I do have godchildren. I have responsibility to my godparents, my own children and whatnot. I do answer all emails. It may take me a while, but I do answer them. But you can reach me at AmbrozineLeGare.com. You can reach me through Facebook, through IG. I get a lot of messages and texts, so please don't take it personally if I don't respond right away. I strong arm, I twist my daughter's arm into helping me answer and get better with that because I like living. I love living life and I want all of you to do the same. So don't spend so much time on social media, but if you want to reach me, you can reach me through Ambrozine LeGare.
I love that. I love that. So they can get a hold of you. I put it up in the chat. You guys can find it in the chat. And gosh, I hope you will come back again sometime and tell us about all your adventures. We never even got to talk about where you've been traveling to and what you've been doing all around the world and where you've been going. And
I got to tell you this. I have discovered St. Louis fried rice. Oh my God. So the duck fried rice in St. Louis, Missouri,
sounds
of
good.
all places, is absolutely incredible. But that's all I'm going to say. But if you want, you can find me on Ambrozine LeGare on Facebook or Ifa. Let me just put it in the chat. Ifa Lomo.
Panelists and attendees so everyone can see it.
Ifa Lomo. Nope, that's not my full name one. Tayo. This is my other Facebook page. So you can find me at either page. I promise to make sure my daughter is better about checking and saying, Mom, you need to check your DMs, but I will respond to everybody. I try to be good about that.
We have to have our helpers. I couldn't get by without Bridget, who does my answers, my things, because I don't look at email. I don't have time to look at email,
I
busy
I
creating
feel
stuff.
I have to be honest, I feel bad about it because you understand the some of the intimacies and the intricacies of the work that I do. And if I'm caught up traveling or doing something for 3, 4, 5, 7, 14 days, it gets hard to keep up on
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And then, as you get older and you get into things, it doesn't have the same significance that it did 10 years ago. And I'm not trying to be an asshat. It's just, especially with COVID too, I'm like, shit, as soon as everything is open, you're going to have to text me because I'm going to be at the museum. I'm going to go to Northern California. I'm going to get duck fried rice. I want to go back to Europe and I need to lay on a beach and look at the boy toys and have a drink in my hand, folks. So
I love that. I
I'm
love
gonna
that.
try. But
I'll be
thank
there
you.
right there next to you. I'll be right there
Yes,
next to you. I cannot wait to travel again.
I
Yeah.
can because I need my Northern California trip. I swear God, I miss the mountains over there. But anyway, I thank you for having me. And I thank all of the attendees. There's so many that joined in. I hope I answered questions for you. Please email me if you have a question, you want to book a reading, send me an email. I'll send you the link and we can get that going. But remember, I say this all the time. You've heard me say this before, Pamita. Love yourself first and best of all.
I love that. That's like on a great note. We're leaving this on a great note. Thank you
Yes,
so
ma'am.
much, Ambrozine. It was a delight to
Thank
see you, a delight to
you.
spend time with you. I'm glad your ancestors said yes to come on the show.
I know. That's people don't know that because I was like, she's not gonna want her show, y'all. And it was like, yeah, go, go, go. All right,
I just
dear.
adore
It's
you. Have a
great to see
beautiful
you.
evening. Thank you so
Most
much.
love to you. Take care, darling.
All
Bye,
right.
everybody. Thank you so
Bye,
much.
everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.